Why the US and China both really need Indonesia? This is the topic of today. Let's go. Hello and welcome back to our Bali Invest YouTube channel. My name is Kevin Beutler. I'm the CEO of the Bali NFT Investment Group, and we are one of the leading companies in tokenization real estate. I'm just here right now in the Segara Seaside Resort in Nusa Ceningan. Amazing place, but this is not the topic of today. Today we want to talk about Indonesia's position and why the US and also China on both sides really need Indonesia and why it's a so important country and why the economy raised so much up. Let's go. So here we see this video, already more than 300,000 views in the last months, and we will check it out and do a reaction.
The US and China are both investing heavily into Indonesia, trying to secure it as an ally. Why? Because Indonesia will tip the balance of power in Asia. Indonesia straddles the Indian and Pacific Oceans, which means it holds considerable sway over some of the world's most important maritime trade routes. As tensions between the US and China escalate, this archipelago with over 17,000 islands finds itself at the center of a high-stakes competition. Both
Definitely, Indonesia get more and more powerful, especially the economy race really up. It's from the G20 states, always on place number 2. Even the economy growth is bigger than China right now. Just India grows more. And the last 10 years under President Joko Widodo was really successful. So many new infrastructure, so many new airports, so many new harbors. Also the salaries of the people raise up, many more new jobs, and every aspect is going forward here.
superpowers recognize that Indonesia's allegiance could determine the future of Asia-Pacific relations. But what makes Indonesia so compelling? Its economic potential, vast natural resources, and growing military capabilities are just the start of the story. If I asked you to list the best economic growth stories of this century, you'd probably start by naming China. After that, maybe Vietnam, India, or Ethiopia. Well, Indonesia also belongs on that list. Since emerging from the Asian financial crisis of 1997, the nation has undergone a remarkable transformation. Today, it's an emerging powerhouse reshaping the economic landscape of Southeast Asia. Consider this: Indonesia's economy has grown tenfold in just over 2 decades. It's projected to reach a GDP of 1.5 trillion by the end of 2024.
Definitely, it's completely crazy. I just personally can say what's going on here in Bali. I'm 4 years here already and it's changed completely. So many new projects. Also when I fly to Labuan Bajo, to Lombok, everywhere new big hotels, $1 million projects. So many for Asian investors come here. Many successful international companies set up a headquarter here. The potential is enormously, and you see already the facts.
Rising to the 16th largest economy globally has meant substantial strides in poverty reduction. Indonesia's poverty rate has been cut in half since 1999. That's incredible when you remember that this is a population of over 275 million people. But what's driving this?
And this is important. 275 million people is one of the largest populations worldwide.
Explosive economic expansion. The answer lies in Indonesia's strategic pivot from raw material exports to value-added industries. In the early 2000s, Indonesia's growth was primarily fueled by commodity exports. As China's economy grew, it became a voracious importer of Indonesian copper, oil, gas, and coal. However, the nation's leadership recognized the limitations to this model and implemented bold policies to diversify and strengthen the economy. Most recently, Indonesian President Joko Widodo decided to ban raw nickel exports in a calculated strategy to build a domestic processing industry.
And this was one of the smartest decisions because now all the material get to the manufacturer here and just then sell it. And this gets so many jobs. This was a super important step, really smart decision.
Results have been transformative. Estimates suggest that the country's nickel smelting capacity increased from just 16 million tons per year in 2018 to over 100 million tons per year by 2023. Today, the country produces more nickel than all other nations combined, positioning it at the
Repeat that, yeah? It's produced more than all all other nations combined. It's so rich in resources, especially in the modern economy. It's super important.
The heart of the booming electric vehicle industry. Between nickel mining and processing, Widodo has positioned Indonesia as a linchpin of the global supply chain. And this value-added manufacturing creates jobs, makes the Indonesian economy more resilient, and entices investors to look for more avenues to invest in the country. But Indonesia's economic renaissance isn't limited to natural resources. The nation has simultaneously cultivated a thriving digital economy. Indonesia now boasts the largest e-commerce industry in Southeast Asia, dwarfing that of its neighbors. To put that in perspective, Indonesia's e-commerce sector is 6 times larger than that of the Philippines. This digital boom has given rise to a vibrant startup ecosystem. Indonesia's home to 15 startups valued at over $1 billion each, a number that surpasses every other Southeast Asian country except for Singapore.
And also can say it's so easy. You have an app for everything. It's much more complicated even for payment solutions. Also, especially for digital assets, for cryptocurrencies, for trading, everything is really high class, and you have so many new young entrepreneurs who have amazing ideas. I really like to live here and get all these innovations here. It's super nice.
And these unicorns aren't just creating wealth. They're driving innovation, attracting global talent, and positioning Indonesia as a tech hub to rival established centers across Asia. This has been supported by Indonesian economic policies that are deliberately designed to attract foreign investment.
If an investor wants to come to Indonesia, go ahead. Come to Indonesia.
As of 2023, Indonesia boasts the fastest growing economy in Southeast Asia and one of the fastest growing globally. And this is paired with Indonesia's young dynamic workforce, which stands in stark contrast to the aging, stagnating economies of established Asian players. Indonesia's economy is the foundation of its geopolitical power, but its strategic location unlocks another substantial opportunity. As tensions between the United States and China escalate, Indonesia finds itself in a unique position to shape the future of Asia. But how does a country with limited military might wield such influence? The answer lies in Indonesia's long-standing policy of non-alignment. This approach, rooted in the 1955 Bandung Conference, has allowed Indonesia to maintain its independence while avoiding permanent strategic alignments with major powers. During the Cold War, Indonesia masterfully played both the United States and Soviet Union, securing military and economic aid without fully committing to either side.
This is also super smart that you not go on the one side or you go on the other side. Hey, you be neutral, like Switzerland. They also do it really smart in Europe. That's why the economy overall in Europe goes down, but Switzerland is still there. And same Indonesia, they're making business. Yeah? They're making business with US, they're making business with Russia, they're making business with China, and they get the best for their country. And this is normally how politicians have to be. And not, for example, like Germany, who do everything what America tell them. Yeah? This is not the way how you bring your country forward. You have to make a politic for your country, for your people.
In today's multipolar world, Indonesia is continuing this delicate balancing act. The nation engages with both the US and China, extracting benefits from each while maintaining its autonomy. Simultaneously, Indonesia has expanded its annual Garuda Shield joint military exercises to include soldiers from 12 additional countries, including Australia and Japan. This move demonstrates Indonesia's commitment to broad military cooperation without aligning exclusively with a single power. But this non-alignment policy doesn't mean that it's passive on matters of regional affairs. When it comes to territorial disputes, Indonesia has shown a willingness to hold its ground. The nation has refused China's offer to negotiate maritime boundaries and conducted military exercises near the Natuna Islands, signaling resistance to Chinese territorial claims. Yet, China remains a significant economic partner, becoming Indonesia's second largest source of foreign direct investment and a major participant in infrastructure projects. Since 2013, China has intensified its focus on ASEAN countries, including Indonesia, through massive investments as part of the Belt.
That's true. Also, China invests a lot here, not just beach clubs and something like this, but also infrastructure project. I think in Klinkin Beach in Nusa Penida, just next to Nusa Ceningan, where we have our Zigara seaside resort here, they built like a glass elevator down where we can show this right here. Super, super beautiful. But also for sure, other huge infrastructure investment is led by Chinese investors. So it's a great, great cooperation for both countries.
And Road Initiative. For Indonesia, this has meant funding for the Jakarta-Bandung High-Speed Railway, Morowali Industrial Park, and the expansion of several Indonesian ports. While the financing comes with strings attached, Indonesia has been able to largely outgrow its debt obligations, a feat that few Belt and Road loan recipients have been able to achieve. Today, Indonesia does over $130 billion worth of trade annually with China, nearly double the amount when President Widodo came to office. But Indonesia can still extract concessions from its partner due to the essentiality of nickel to China's EV industry and Indonesia's strategic value geographically. Since Indonesia is the country that connects the Pacific and Indian Oceans, approximately 60% of all maritime trade passes through Indonesian waters. This makes it the key pivot country in the battle for influence in the Eastern Hemisphere. The United States' strategy of a free and open Indo-Pacific involves partnerships with Japan, India, and Australia, and would become undeniable with the addition of the world's fourth most populous nation. Now, we've already outlined some of China's Belt and Road investments, but the U.S. has also been a beneficial partner. Indonesia benefits from the U.S. Generalized System of Preferences, allowing duty-free entry for over 3,500 Indonesian products into the U.S. market. Indonesia is also part of the U.S. International Military Education and Training Program, which has helped modernize its military. As tensions simmer in the South China Sea and great power competition intensifies, Indonesia is quietly modernizing its armed forces in the background. Is it preparing for war? Hopefully not, but this military transformation is a calculated move to make it a credible threat to deter foreign powers meddling in Indonesia's neighborhood. In 2000,
I mean, it's never good to focus too much on military, but in this world, it's good to have it, and also it's a big growth factor for the economy, especially if you work together with the US, because it's a billion, even trillion-dollar market. And yeah, for sure, hopefully they never really need to use it and there never will be a war. But I would say here's one of the peacefulest area. When I take a look at Europe or at other poor parts of the world, there's much more potential that there is some conflicts. Here I would say I don't see any risk for this.
there are a lot of people in Indonesia. With a population of 277 million, it's the fourth most populous country in the world.
Oh, the fourth biggest population in the world. Did you know this before? Yeah, just India, China, and the US are bigger. Crazy, right?
Country's demographic profile is particularly favorable for economic growth. Unlike many developed nations grappling with aging populations, Indonesia boasts a relatively young workforce. This demographic dividend is expected to fuel Indonesia's economy for at least the next half century, giving it a significant edge over countries like Japan and South Korea, which are facing labor shortages and increased social costs due to their aging populations. Meanwhile, Indonesia has the workers to support increasing industrial demands. This should ultimately grow its middle class into a legitimate economic driver, fueling domestic consumption and creating a viable internal market. As more Indonesians
That's super important. You have a really young economy, you have people who like to focus, who bring forward, who bring ideas, and you have the manpower to bring this country even more forward. So I would say there's so many different factors to bring this economy more up, and even more up.
join the ranks of the middle class, the demand for goods and services is surging, creating a self-sustaining cycle of economic growth. Indonesia's GDP per capita is already twice that of India's, and there is considerable upside yet to be realized. In order to fully leverage its demographic dividend, the country is working to reform its education system, which lags behind many regional competitors. Only about 10% of Indonesians speak English, which remains the de facto language of international business. This language barrier could potentially limit Indonesia's ability to fully integrate.
But this 10% I would say, because you see overall, like he said, Indonesia has 17,000 islands. When you go, for example, to Jakarta, or you're going to Surabaya, or you're going here to Bali, near everyone speak English. But for sure, when you see it overall in the country, then definitely they have to improve more, that they speak more this international language
Into the global economy and attract foreign investment. Progress has been slower than desired, and Indonesia still trails behind regional rivals like India in terms of an English-speaking workforce. But the age of the internet and artificial intelligence may render that less of a disadvantage as the decade goes by. Ultimately, there is very little standing between Indonesia becoming one of the world's 10 largest economies. Now, there are a few hurdles that Indonesia must overcome. The first is its geography. The country's population is spread across more than 17,000 islands, making nationwide development a complex and costly endeavor. It also makes inequality between rural and urban centers particularly severe. Java, the most densely populated island, produces about 56% of all of Indonesia's rice and contains more than half of the country's population, despite comprising less than 7% of Indonesia's total land area. This concentration of population and economic activity presents both opportunities and challenges for balanced national development. Additionally, the capital city, Jakarta, is sinking into the ocean and faces severe flooding risk.
But there's already a solution. The new main capital will be in Nusantara. They built already a new main capital. I don't know if they will show this also. Super impressive and super beautiful.
Some predictions suggest that Jakarta will be submerged by 2050 due to rising sea levels. The government's proposed solution, a giant seawall, is projected to cost around $40 billion and has faced controversy over land seizures, environmental concerns, and security risks. Leaders have also explored moving the capital to another island that would also cost tens of billions of dollars and create a honeypot for exploitation and bribes. Corruption continues to plague Indonesia's political and economic landscape. After making significant progress in the fight against graft, entering the top half of Transparency International's Corruption Perception Index in 2019, Indonesia has since regressed, and this could all be compounded by internal political turmoil. Current President Joko Widodo is at his term limit, but does not seem interested in gracefully yielding power. He's campaigning hard for his defense minister, Prabowo Subianto, in the 2024 election. In addition to a track record of human rights abuses, Prabowo has selected Widodo's 36-year-old son as his vice presidential nominee. This political maneuvering increases the tension on Indonesia's relatively young and fragile democracy.
And this plan works out because Prabowo also win. I think now in September he's already in, and now even more infrastructure project is announced. He will continue what the former president have started. So also for the next 5 years, there's everything safe, that the economy grows more, and I'm super excited for this. What is your opinion about this? Yeah, do you like this video? Push the like button, subscribe our Bali Invest YouTube channel, and we see us soon in one of the next videos.